And with that wonderful theme intro music, we have our episode 30 of our pirate campaign. You're still currently in Port Marley. You had time to go several times to the local establishment known as the Shattered Hand and have drinks, more fights than Mug knows what to do with, and
That's a lot.
hired on
It's
some new
just about
crew.
enough.
You've been to the markets and at one point were ambushed by some Bukard assassins from House Begatal.
They should probably die.
Well, I think most of them that you've come across so far are dead. You also came across a message that invited you to speak with a representative of House Begatal who asked you to hunt down Lady Alara de Pont and recover from her the amulet that she was wearing in exchange for not having to dodge assassins for the rest of your life.
To be fair, I don't trust that. I am pretty much certain that as soon as we hand in the key, the assassins will be back.
Silas, you had investigated the message a bit more properly this time and found that there was a hidden message underneath the bed in your chambers.
Mm-hmm.
And carved into a wooden plank like graffiti is the words Fort Hearth.
Well, what does it say?
It says we have our destination. We're going to Fort Hearth.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to have to get ready quick.
Well, then we better get people hired and everyone on here then, huh?
Yep.
But didn't we hire people already? What?
What, you were away getting an elf?
Silas is just getting up on the deck. And he's going to just start yelling out orders about getting ready.
The twins have, by the looks of it, either hired on or turned away what's left of this giant queue and have been splitting up the various new hires amongst those experienced crew so that they can be trained.
Good.
The ship is currently a flurry of activity with now nearly 200 people aboard, and all the supplies that have been arriving have been slowly getting loaded and stowed.
I'm going to jump off the ship for a bit and just walk over to the harbor master.
Yep.
Master, that guy.
You see that's a different person this time. It's a younger woman, still in the same kind of official outfit with a wooden clipboard and many, many papers strapped to it. She looks at you as if that you're like the 100th captain today to say something like that, and she goes, "What can I do to help?"
We're getting ready to leave, and I wanted to make sure that the pay has been delivered from the bounty office.
She flips through and eventually gets to a piece of paper, and she scans down it and says, "Yep, all deliveries to your ship have been placed at the very least alongside, so it's up to your crew to get it on board."
Okay, good to know. Thank you very much. And before he walks out, and then before he actually completely walks off, he realizes something. And he goes, "Who would I talk to sell a ship?"
She sort of blinks a few times at you and goes, well, depending on the type of ship, if you're selling a merchantman, then I'm certain that there'll be buyers aplenty back in the market, but if it's a ship that you intend to sell to Port Marley for the defense of the free ports, then your best bet would be back at the Tower of Elders.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll have a consult with my officers before I actually take action on that.
She shrugs and goes, sure thing. Let me know if I can be of help in any other way.
Of course. Thank you very much and good luck. And with that, Silas just almost skips back to the ship because he's excited that he found a solution to like get more money.
Fair enough.
And he, as soon as he gets on the ship, he tries to look around for the officers, basically. I'm just gonna call it like that because that's easier than all of the names.
Fair enough.
Hey, Silas, what's going on? Are we leaving now?
Yeah, we have a heading. We're going to Fort Hath. We're going south.
Great.
South is great.
So I take it we have map and all the equipment for navigation?
Yep, this ship would already have come equipped with some navigation tools when you captured it.
Great.
And it would have one of those basically chambers set aside for maps and documentation near where the captain's quarters is.
It would probably be the one immediately below or behind the immediately below or behind the helm, I guess.
Yep.
Accessible from within meters of the helm.
Yeah. So basically, as you go through underneath the helm, you would find where the map room would be.
I'm gonna try and
we
collect
got-
everybody there.
We got all the food now, so we should be able to go. And I got us a good cook.
Ooh. Who did you get?
The guy that sold us the thing when we found
Oh,
The noodles.
the noodles. That was the
those
name.
were really good.
Yeah.
How willing is he to be here?
Very.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I didn't even have to. It was pretty.
Huh.
Just had to show the gold.
Oh, that's a solution. Okay, with that, there's a few things that we might need to talk about. And he just looks around
Okay.
at all of the officers. And he goes,
Wait, am I there or am I not there?
yeah, you're among the officers.
Okay. Verity just looks very confused of why she's there, but
Basically-
she's not gonna say anything.
You've basically been pulled into this room, just like you should listen in. And now he's looking around and he goes, what would everybody like to do on the ship?
Well, I'm trained as a navigator, so that was what I expected to do here, outside of, changing the weather.
I think that's a good combination. Mug, would you like to lead stuff
Yeah.
like the boarding parties? Make sure that everybody is well prepared for fights.
Wait, what? Are we going to board up the windows?
No, it's where you jump onto the other ship and you get to fight everybody before the rest is there.
Oh yeah, I could definitely do that. I can fight.
You know
Yeah,
what?
if you said I'm in charge of fighting, I can do that.
You're in charge of fighting when we're on the other ships.
Yeah. I will fight the other ship. I will lead the charge master. That's what I am, right?
You can get the title Charge Master if that's what you like.
Charge master.
Okay.
Could you hear what I said?
Not entirely.
Oh yeah, I was saying. You mean I will be the charge master, right?
Yeah, you can be the charge master. Or would you prefer the
Yeah,
title
charge
Master of
master.
Arms?
Oh, I guess I have arms as well. Yeah, I can be master of arms. I do have them. Two big good ones.
You do have some very, very strong arms.
He's gonna like turn around and look at Wisp and go, what would you like to do to make sure that the ship keeps running smoothly?
I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I don't know.
Like-
You're gonna need to, out of character, you're gonna need to convince Wisp to be the surgeon, because mine last time she was like, I'm not a healer, I'm not a healer.
That is true. Violet is just gonna look at her and go, you seem to enjoy removing bolts from my body when I was shot.
You are one person.
You can pick your own crew within the surgeon, within the role of a surgeon, and then you can pick your own crew that help you.
You're gonna have to make sure that we are equipped properly.
Of course, I mean everything to make the ship work smoothly, and part of that is keeping the crew alive, right?
Uh-huh.
Just let me know what you need, and we'll make sure to get it.
Fine. But you better not expect me to be sober most of the time. At least
No,
at
of
night.
course not. Alcohol has been a victim.
I have heard that alcohol is a defectant, yes.
Uh-huh.
So, in fact, we'll make sure you get a cask of rum in your room.
Oh wow, okay.
You got one as well, Mug.
It's kind of
Yeah.
sad. I'm not that much of a alcoholic. I drink by myself.
No,
For
it's,
sake.
no, it's not that
Then
room.
I can
It's
drink
the
with
room
you.
you work in for you and your crew.
Oh, you're the.
Invite me for a drink whenever you want to.
Mug has found the ideal solution to this.
Fine for now. Okay. But you need to see a specialist about your blood disorder.
I guess we can figure out
Mhm,
something for
mhm. That's my condition.
that. He's gonna look at Haldir for a little help.
Don't look at the other elf. You look at me, look deep into my eyes, and tell me. Mhm.
Well, we need to first figure out how to get the ship flying, right? We need to get to the fort
That's
real
fine.
quick.
I'm not talking about it now. You shush. You say it.
I'll work on the blood thing.
No. We're going to see a specialist.
You get
Say
to
it.
pick which specialist.
Verity will lean over to Haldir and be, what blood thing? What are they talking about?
Silas has a problem with seeing blood, apparently.
Oh. That's bad? I mean, how much blood do you usually come across?
Don't worry. It's not when it's my own blood. It's only when I shoot someone.
Oh, that doesn't sound that much of a problem then, right?
I am so glad she doesn't know my character much yet.
She has no idea what's going on. It's fine.
No.
I'm sure this is fine.
Silas,
Okay, so we've decided on this whole blood thing. So what else do we need to actually do to get this ship moving?
we need someone to run the numbers. Make sure that there's enough food and enough money to pay everybody. Who's good with numbers?
I can do that too, right?
Uh,
I can take charge of food.
I could do numbers, or someone else can do numbers. I don't know. I don't know exactly know what I would be good for.
I mean,
Yes.
I can
Wait,
You can
definitely
be good
do
for
it.
anything you set your mind to.
I mean, do you have any pets or livestock?
Not
Yeah.
yet, I
Not
think.
yet. I mean, the thing closest to livestock would be the chickens that we have in our meat storage.
Wait, we have chickens?
They're
We
not
have
alive
chickens?
anymore.
Hmm.
There's
I
just
guess
like
we
pure
did.
chicken.
I guess we didn't take the manticores with. I mean, no, we can go back and pick up some manticores, right?
I think they're all dead. Remember?
Oh no, yeah, that's right.
Mantic?
Yeah, we met some.
Cool.
Yeah, they gave us a good fight.
But yeah, with mine,
They would make good pets.
but back on the whole quartermaster thing, like at least with my education, I can
That's a good idea.
look at it.
Verity, would you be able to man the helm?
I don't know.
We can teach you.
I mean, sure. Isn't didn't Haldir mention that he literally changes the weather?
Yes, but he's the navigator, so he'll be making sure that you go the correct way, and then you'll be in charge of actually steering the ship, and he'll be helping with summoning storms. Right? That was how you did that, right?
I can definitely change the weather. Summoning a whole storm. Let's see if that's needed. But you know, Verity, we'll figure it out. Like either I be on the helm or you'll be on the helm. This is all new for both of us. We'll figure it out. Don't worry.
That's part of the fun.
Right.
Oh god.
And Silas just goes. He looks up very like happy that he thinks he has delegated everything, and then he goes, "And I'll man the cannons."
Oh god.
I'll be sure to make sure to handle the crew manning the cannons and make sure that they all do their best. And then I go, but of course, there's always a cannon reserved for you, Mug.
Yeah, I'm definitely shooting some cannons. They're nice and shiny.
And then he looks up again and he goes, so we had that second ship, that brig.
We had a second ship as well.
Well,
You guys been busy.
we found a ship. And I think it's time that we sell that ship because money is useful. Lots of money is lots of
True.
useful.
That makes sense. More
Agree.
money is definitely useful.
I know
And
that. Yes,
do you know where to sell such a ship, sir?
I did my research. There's two options.
Mm-hmm.
We can try and sell it as a merchant vessel on the market,
Mm-hmm.
or we could sell it to this harbor, which is at war, and weapons and ships are scarce. So I think our best bet would be to sell it as a military ship to the city council.
Okay. Are you handling the negotiations for that or the quartermaster?
I think I'd like to be there, but I definitely need the quartermaster by my side.
I need to
David.
quickly figure out how much a ship is actually worth, so I'm gonna try and sell one. So, just so you know.
I'm sure we'll learn on the way there.
Don't get done by.
Sure. Let's let's do it then.
Like, I would rather you'd done like a load of research to know how much something's worth and you got done.
We don't really have the time for research. We need to set sail today.
Fine, just handle it as soon as you're able.
Of course. Will you guys make sure that the gold and the food and such are loaded?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then he looks at the twins and he goes, and I guess you'll be in charge of making sure everybody stays on their shift rosters and such, and just helping whatever help's needed.
We can keep your crew in line.
Sounds good. And with that, Silas like pretty much nudges Haldir to like start going as well. He just after he nudges Haldir for a bit, he just steps out of the ship.
Haldir was definitely like lost in thought, like, oh god, how do I? And I'm like, oh right.
Silas is more or less like taking control of one of Haldir's arms and like pulling him across the docks to make
Yeah,
sure
he
that he doesn't
follows
walk into
along.
things.
So on our way to the Tower of Elders, can I do a roll to like talk with some people on the way and like figure out how much a brig is worth?
Ooh.
Yep.
Could I do a military lore to see how much a military ship would normally go for in times of war?
Yep. You could do a military law one for how much you believe that a ship would cost. And Haldir, if you're doing just checking with people on the way, do a communication roll. Just to see how helpful people are and what kind of information they give you.
Verity will seek out Whisp, I guess, and ask. So, who is the? If we all have roles, who's the? Well, the oracle or inquisitor or who oversees, you know, prayer and
I'm sorry, the what?
ceremonies.
Oh.
Ceremonies?
I mean, yeah, ceremonies.
Ceremonies?
What's a
I like that
ceremony?
Mugs
I-
just walked in on this. I mean, like, what's the ceremony?
I generally don't know what you're talking about either, to be honest.
Oh,
Ceremony?
I think Mug knows this. It's the part where you go to a temple to fight.
But you're not there yet. It will soon come, I'm sure.
Right.
No, I mean, who's in charge of waking everyone up and
Themselves. If not someone firing a gun at like 6 in the morning.
No, I meant the in the morning, you know, like at first at
We
You mean cooking breakfast? Do you want to cook breakfast for us?
No, we have a cook for that. That Wisp doesn't know the name of. We don't really have a structure as such. We kind of just wing it.
like you see Verity's just shocked face. Like, what is this debauchery?
We also do not have a chapel on this ship.
Well, you don't really need a chapel. Your temple is with you in your heart always. Of course, like a temple, like an actual temple would be better, but you know, there are leeways if you are on a mission or if you're you know, serving in the light.
I don't like the light in the morning. It's annoying, especially if I haven't been before. Just like, no.
Again, you see
No.
like Verity just like almost pale.
I don't think I
You
got
mean
that.
you
Can
don't
explain it more simply?
you don't greet the light in the morning?
Why would I?
Greet the
No!
light.
I normally shield my
What?
face from it. I sleep in the darkest corner I can find. No!
You can kind of see Verity almost like, you know, panic breathing.
Are you okay, dear?
Do
You need some water?
you
It's fine. It's
Are you normally a very
Wait.
routinic kind of person?
well, I don't know if well, where I come from, it's common to follow a certain routine because you
Mhm.
don't
And you talk-
everything. Well, everything surrounds into chaos, and we don't. Chaos is bad, and
Is it?
that's how kingdoms get destroyed.
Wait. So you talk to the light?
Oh no.
Well,
You know
kind
the
of,
light is-
yeah.
Oh no.
So
What does
wait,
this light
so
say to you?
can you do like magic doors? Do you know about magical doors?
Verity looks
Oh.
very confused. Magic door?
Yeah. So if you talk to the light, and you're a magician, so you can make magic doors, right?
I don't.
Is that what we are talking about?
No, I usually it has helped me be able to weave fates. Does that help?
Fates.
It helps you beat the what?
Well, it helps me see the golden threads of fate.
There's
Right.
gold somewhere. Where is the gold? Where is the
Um,
gold?
Oh, mugs. It's more like, you know, when I helped you fight and you felt warm.
Oh yeah.
That's because I was
Yeah.
magic,
pulling
is
on
it not? Sorcery?
Well, yeah, because of
a natural born talent.
Oh,
well,
I get
it's not really, well, yeah, but well, you are born with it, but it's because you're blessed with it.
I get it now. I get it now. So what you're saying is to be able to do magic, you need light. So in the morning you have to wake up and sunbathe.
Well, you need
instead of-
the light.
Like photosynthesis?
So,
Is that how
you're
sorcery
actually
works?
watching-
You could actually compare it to that. That's not too far off. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we don't really photosynthesize on this shit.
Sorry. We don't photosynthesize on this shit.
I don't really get what but okay, so all it means is that you can only help us with your magic stuff when the weather is good. I got this. Okay, we will rely on you when the sun is shining, and
Oh,
I will wake you up
the
every
light
morning
light is
when
always
the sun is
the light is
shining.
always there. The light can be found even in the darkest of places if you know where to look.
What are you talking about? Are you mad?
I'm sorry.
Have you?
I knew
had any chance-
my Harry Potter knowledge would be relevant at some point.
I want to nominate we don't photosynthesize on this ship for quoting Glenn, his rivals Taryn and Mug.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Verity will be. Well, I guess I could lead it.
I would get some water. Maybe some food.
Right now.
What are we leading?
I mean the meeting of the dawn. But
the meeting of the what?
We call that morning.
Oh, breakfast, you mean? I mean, why else would you get up in the morning than to get breakfast and then you have your workout?
Right. Well, kinda. I am so looking forward to like now, like 4:30 a.m. when the sun rises and Verity is waking everyone up to be ready. You can go to bed afterwards. That's fine.
Okay,
You
okay,
realize that it's dangerous
okay.
to like wake up pirates before noon, right?
Right. I think I figured it out now. So you want to do morning training? I'm totally up for it. So we can run around the ship and then do push-ups together, and then we have breakfast.
That is a very that's a valid way to worship. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that. We do training in the morning. We get up together and then train. Come on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
God, we'll sort
Verity
that out.
looks a little bit less stressed out.
Don't worry, girl. Even if you're not strong now, I will train you up. Well, yeah, I'll get you ready for fights.
Good luck, Verity. Have fun.
This is gonna end so badly.
You have signed up to a struggle contract with the mug gym.
I'm sure it's fine. Everything will be fine. That
Mug's
this
gym of
is
getting punched.
Have fun.
It's okay. This will be training. This is different.
see, I trust her. I shouldn't, but I do.
Oh.
See, that was your first fatal flaw.
Uh-huh.
First mistake. Don't trust Mug.
That was a good conversation.
That was freaking glorious, is what it was.
Again, I am very, very excited for waking Silas up at 4:30 in the morning. Mug said it was okay, so
So, while this conversation has been going on board, Silas and Haldir, you have been making your way towards
downtown.
apparently making your way downtown towards where the elders.
I'm so sorry.
it's all good.
I've had iced coffee. It's not good for me.
Quick question.
Yep.
Is the sun shining?
It is. It is a currently
So we are
bright
also
day.
walking on sunshine.
Oh.
Yes, you are.
Oh.
So everyone is obviously out and about. It is exceptionally busy. You walk past hundreds of people going about their day. Haldir, you kept an ear open, and you did hear along the way that there were people talking about the city buying ships to increase their fleet, and the fact that the elders seem to be buying almost anything that's capable of going off to war for a good price. Silas, you've been sort of racking your memories of what you were taught when you were awake, at least when your tutors were trying to teach you.
Well, this was about pirate ships, so this part interested him.
So you do remember roughly how much a ship's value is based on how much it actually costs to build them. A smaller ship, so the smaller size sloops, would probably only cost about 2,000 to 3,000 to build, but if you were purchasing it, you'd probably be paying 3,000 at the lowest end of the margin. The biggest ships, you remember the giant galleons, at least in Picard, those things would cost anywhere upwards of 200 to 300,000 gold pieces or more just to build.
Huh. And this falls like on the lower end of the spectrum, of course.
Yep.
So
The current ship that you've got access to, so the ships that are with the Cirrus, to your knowledge, haven't arrived, but you did bring with you refugees on a trade ship that sits around the size of a brig.
Does it have cannons?
Currently, no.
So this would not be a battle-ready warship.
Not fully armed, but
Cannons not included in this purchase.
yeah.
Could you put that in the fine print?
Do I actually need to write a contract as well? Jeez. Fine, I have ink and I have paper.
Wait, can I borrow your little thing of ink? Bottle of ink?
I only have one, so
You're gonna get it back, and then some.
sure.
So I take his, like, I reckon it's one of those travel-sized pocket bottles of ink, right?
Yeah. Filled with black ink.
I open my pouch and I put it in, and then I pull two out, and I just hand them back.
Ah, that's really handy. How did you do that?
I did that with a healthy dose of believing in myself, and also vodka,
Fuck.
and this handy bag.
Can you do that with a piece of paper as well?
I can try.
Haldir like opens his bag and takes out a sheet of paper and hands it to Silas.
I roll it up so that it fits into the bag, or I fold it up depending on whichever fits. And I stuff it in the bag, and I go, and here's one, here's two, and here's three, and then I pull out the original as well, and just go, here you go.
Ah, there's some folds on it, but that can work. Man, that's very handy.
Yeah, I use it for bullets. He says very excitedly.
I can see how being able to always have bullets on you is extra handy.
Well, the last attempt before this was me just having little bags of gunpowder all over me, and apparently that was deemed unsafe.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah. Haldir is not really like responding and just like, is that the Tower of Elders over there?
I guess so. I mean, it's tall. It's a tower. Yeah.
Great.
Are we aiming at the right tower?
Currently, yes. You see that once again, there's still a bit of a queue there, but the soldiers at the front are either directing people to different locations or sort of taking notes and getting people to wait. As
I
you
walk up to one of. Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's right. So you're going to walk up?
Yeah.
Yep. As you approach, an officer looks at you approaching and says, "You have business with the elders?"
I heard they might be interested in purchasing a ship.
Ah, that can be arranged. Follow me.
Okay. Haldir, come on.
The officer himself leads you into the Tower of Elders and just nods at the guards who step aside and open the doors. And he leads you into a large, decorated entry room that sort of spans out. There's waiting areas and there's servants moving around and offering drinks. This officer sort of leads you through that and off to the side, away from the big doors that appear to lead into the more important areas. The corridors you're going down are much more utilitarian, and you see that there's a lot more soldiers around here. Some of them appear to be off duty, only partially in their equipment. As you walk, he sort of looks over his shoulder at you and goes, "The Admiral's looking after the purchase of ships and his staff. I'll take you directly to them."
That sounds like a good idea.
Sounds wonderful.
Approaching a particular door, he knocks, and when it is answered, he sticks his head in and speaks quietly with someone on the other side, and then he steps back and goes, "They're waiting for you," and the door opens. You see a room filled with maps and officers and what looks like a couple of captains in uniform sort of moving items around on this giant table filled with charts and navigational maps. There are orderlies moving around the outsides of the room with papers and documents. And there is a single man sort of hands down on the table looking at the entire length of this map. One of the orderlies approaches the two of you and says, "You're here to sell a ship?"
Yes, that is if the price is correct, of course.
"We offer excellent prices for any ship that's capable of being armed and sent into the fray. I'm certain that we can come to an agreement."
In that case, we might have a brig for sale. She is fast, agile, and has potential to be severely armed.
And newly repaired, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yes. Yes, the repairs got done this morning.
The orderly sort of walks over to a table, beckoning off to the side, and sits down and pulls out paperwork and quickly flips through it and starts taking notes. And pulls out more papers, sort of cross-referencing, and says, "A brig, you mentioned repairs, so it's been in combat recently?"
Yeah, she's been in a fight against the Shayak, no less. And well, we liberated her from them, and we thought you guys might have a use for it.
Well,
Can I roll etiquette to try and like?
oh, definitely.
After words.
Yep.
Can
Dude,
I
you can
try
do that.
and like try and skim the battle plans just to see how well they're actually faring?
Yes, you can. So can you do an, off the top of my head, that would be a perception seeing.
Okay.
Silas is finally settling down in captain mode.
Okay.
That was a 20.
The orderly looks at you and smiles and goes, yes. Let me just take some notes here." And he scribbles down a whole bunch of notes, basically what you were saying about the ship, and says, "Currently in dock here at Port Marley?"
Yes, right next to the Pitaya.
Noted. Excellent. So the current going rate of a brig I've got down here as 2,500, but on course we can improve that, as we have been offering quite a significant markup on that.
How much were you thinking to improve upon it? 3,000 would barely begin to cover the costs of us bringing her here.
The bird. Up there. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Can I get you to do a communication persuasion?
Can I use
Shouldn't
etiquette?
Haldir be
Actually-
doing this?
You know what? I will actually use your etiquette on that because they are trying to haggle you down.
Wow.
Yep. Okay. He sort of looks at the papers and sort of looks up at you and goes and just sort of glances across, which Haldir you notice as well. At the board. Before he goes, truth be told, we can do you a good deal on this. We will sell you. We will buy the ship, I should say, for 7,000 gold pieces up front. Presuming that she is fit to go into the fray right now. Is she outfitted?
The one thing that you might find lacking is it only has limited cannons on it. For the rest, she's ready to sail out anytime. She's well supplied, well stocked.
He sighs a bit and sort of looks and taps his board for a bit and then goes, will cost us to outfit, so 6,500.
I'm going to look at Haldir before I do anything. And then, I'm going to wait to see if Haldir looks approving or not.
Do I notice anything special about the combat situation?
So, from what you can see that the battle is still far too even, and that the Shayak still seem to control Freeport.
Haldir gives a nod.
Okay. In that case, Silas is going to look at them again, and he goes, I guess that's a deal. And he shoots his hand out to shake on it.
The orderly shakes your hand and says, I presume the other vessel you mentioned is your current ship?
Yes, the Pitaya is ours. We're getting ready to take off again. So I'd appreciate it if the money could get there as soon as possible.
The orderly writes a note and seals it and pours a wax seal that he stamps and then hands over and goes, take this with you to the treasury. Any soldier outside will be able to direct you there, and they will deliver the gold within the hour.
See, that's a man after my heart.
Well, if you bring us more ships, the better.
Oh, we'll remember your kind deal. And if we ever stumble upon a ship for sale or some cannons, maybe, we'll keep you in mind.
That's good to hear.
And with that, he looks at Haldir and he goes, you should probably hold on to this. And he hands the credit note.
Haldir quickly makes it disappear into one of the inner pockets of his jacket.
Glenn?
Yep.
So this is a signed and sealed letter of credit that they owe us 6,500, right?
Yes, it is.
Is it, from what we've seen him sign, is it identifiable as specifically for this deal?
Can I get you to do a perception seeing to see how much you saw of what he wrote on it?
That would be a 4, 4, and a 2. Plus my perception is 8, 10, 13 total.
So, all you saw was really that he put the amount and that
I was
it
distracted by the numbers.
that it was also signed. You're not certain if there was anything identifiable on the document.
Okay, in that case, I'm not gonna try to copy it and cheat them for more. I'm gonna look at Haldir and I'm gonna go. We better collect our payment.
Yes, we need to get moving.
I'm
Haldir.
gonna like before we actually head out to the like. I guess we're gonna head out now and follow the guy to the treasury.
Yep. So a nearby soldier sees you emerge and gives you a nod and goes, "Do you need an escort back to the entrance?"
The treasury.
Not a problem. Follow me. And with that,
Thank you, sir.
leads you down through further corridors. You sort of drift away from where there's soldiers to where there is now tons of people in robes rushing around with paperwork. And he stops outside a heavily guarded door, 3 soldiers on each side. The door is open and there are people in robes entering and leaving, and from where you can see, there is just people scribbling at desks everywhere.
Well, I'm happy this isn't me. And Haldir walks in.
You and me both. You and me both.
The soldier is just grinning hearing you say this. You walk in and a robed man looks over at you and says, "You have business with the treasury of the elders?"
Haldir takes out the sealed envelope and hands it to him.
He looks at it, studies the seal quickly, and then very carefully with a knife taps it and slashes it, and then reads through the document before closing it up again and nodding. "I presume you will require a delivery of your payment?"
Yes, and it was part of our deal that it was to be delivered within the hour to the Pitaya.
"That can be done. And if you're happy to wait for a few moments, we can have it delivered back with you if you're returning directly to ship."
I think we may have one stop, but it might be useful if the money could be delivered with us through via there.
"That can be arranged."
And Silas just leans in towards Haldir's ear and like whispers, "We should probably get some stuff to sell at Fort Hath to make some cash on the side and help us keep our expenses paid for."
Haldir gives a small nod, and we can look into that.
The robed cleric walks off and speaks to a pair of robed figures, and they then walk away, and he comes back and he says, "We're just putting all your funds into a group of chests that will be carried. We do have the people on hand to take them with you. Do you have an escort for this as well, I presume?"
We have the 2 of us.
He just looks between the 2 of you and then sighs and goes, "At your own risk, it can just be the 2 of you, or you could see if any of the current guard have the men to spare, should you need it. They are, of course, quite busy at the moment." With that, he sighs and sits back down and looks at you, Haldir, and goes, "Do you have any more business?"
That would be all.
He just nods and goes, "Well, if you're happy to wait, you can either wait in here or back out in the main foyer. You will be called for. Do we have a name that we can have our men request for you by?
The name's Edric.
He just scribbles that down and nods and says,
Haldir raises an like a small eyebrow, like he's keeping his cool, but it's like, huh?
the clerk looks back up at you both and says, you will be called for as soon as the full amount has been stored, ready for transport, and is ready to leave.
Perfect. I guess we'll wait in the foyer.
Go in there.
And as we go out of this room where the rogue dudes are writing stuff,
Yep.
that guard that was grinning,
Yep.
I'm gonna ask him if he has some buddies here nearby that are off duty right now.
He looks at you and sort of shrugs and goes, I could probably rustle up a couple of the fellas. But,
Yeah.
what's this for?
We might be offering some gold in exchange for a safe escort to our ship.
He blinks for a second, looks both ways down the hall, and then smiles and goes, you'll have your escort. And he goes, when's it ready to leave by?
It's to be delivered momentarily.
If you give us
Yeah.
if you give me a few minutes, I'll get a properly armed and ready escort ready for you.
Good.
And with that, he trots off down the hall, stops for a minute, looks over his shoulder and goes, I presume you need to wait in the foyer or some such? They don't usually like you loitering around the treasury.
Within the foyer, indeed.
And then he just points off down the hall and says, take the first right at the end, and then 2 lefts, and you'll be straight out in the foyer.
Great.
Get lost, just grab anybody, they'll point you in the right way. And
As soon as he's out of earshot,
yep.
Haldir just looks at Silas like, you could have said silver and not gold. And we need to pay them more. And then he starts walking down.
You have a point. Then again, we could just have them divide 2 golds amongst them.
I mean, you could also just not have collected people, because now it seems like you have a lot of gold and everyone will see what boat you go to.
We're gonna have a giant chest that people are carrying.
It's 4 giant chests that are being carried for us, or something like that.
Yeah, you need to, like, we need to get everyone like this kind of like travel knapsack thing that we just like whenever we get things like this, we're just like pouring it in there and walking out like nothing. Because
So
could we convince Bingo to use one of his sock sacks?
So you make your way out into the foyer, and in short order, a servant eventually comes out and calls your name. And when that happens, a squad of soldiers also arrive, escorting a group of servants that are trundling along a group of chests. At least 2 servants per chest to carry. The men that are carrying them are extremely well muscled, almost to the level of Mug.
Oh, damn. Ooh.
The lead soldier winks at you, and it's the one that you spoke to earlier.
Oh.
Hello.
He just grins and goes, so, I believe you're meant to be stopping partway on the way to your vessel? Where to, sir?
Well, our first stop would be someone who sells goods in bulk?
After the bazaar, then, yep, that can be arranged.
Is that safe to go to with? Well, your escort would probably help us.
He's grinning at you and says, I sincerely doubt anyone's going to be taking on 8 soldiers.
If anything happens to the gold, I might not be able to guarantee pay. So we do need the gold to be safe.
Oh, it will be safe. Safer than if it was locked up at home for you.
Haldir rolls his eyes. Let's get moving.
Yeah, and we just like start marching towards the bazaar, I guess.
Yep. So it's slightly slower going, despite the fact that the servants carrying these chests are extremely strong. It's still a lot of weight, so they are having to take their time and be careful.
Mhm.
The soldiers form a perimeter, 4 on either side, and march in step. They are armored and in uniform, each with a rifle.
Ooh, I like your rifles.
The lead one grins and says, "We keep our equipment in good nick. Can't tell if the Shayak are preparing for another strike or not, and we'll be ready if they do."
For now, rest assured that the Pattaya will have your backs at open air.
That's good to hear. Seems like the fleets have been struggling to track down and engage the Shayak. And when we do bring them to battle, especially around Freeport, they've been giving as good as they've got.
Yeah, that's the issue with these kind of groups. It's much better to take them out in slightly different tactics. We specialize in those.
He just grins and goes, "I've heard that some of the privateers had had some success, although a number of them haven't shown back up either, so we don't know if that's because they've just not had any luck or if they've met an awful fate at the hand of those slavers."
I wish nobody that fate.
Atlas, I'm gonna go up ahead. You keep here, and I'll meet you up when you get closer to the market.
Okay.
Haldir runs off, and I'm gonna want to try and at least figure out what usually gets
Yep.
sold to the fort.
So can I get a communication out of you?
Yes, yes, you can. So, be sorry.
So that was a 15?
15.
Yep. So you talk to a couple of merchants up ahead, and specifically in regards to trading with Fort Hearth, and 2 things come up. One of them is that the fort goes through alcohol like there is no tomorrow, and the other thing that they're very short in is wool. One of the merchants gabs on a bit about how it's a military place first and foremost, and soldiers like their drink, and on top of that, the constant maintenance of their uniforms puts them through linen and wool like there is no tomorrow.
Right, so after I got that information, I try and meet back up.
it's not too hard to see the group approaching the markets because there's obviously a lot of people paying attention to these chests and the armored escort.
Bless you.
Sorry.
Bless you. So you will easily spot Silas and the group approaching.
I quickly walk back in. I'm like, okay, so some linen, some wool, and booze. And let's make sure that some of the booze does not get drank under the way, huh?
That sounds like a difficult idea. But
Well, we can also just only buy linen and wool, but I feel like that would not be as good for moral.
I think we need to buy the booze and just buy some linen and wool as well. Make sure that we can at least sell that, even if the booze is run out.
You're the captain.
And then I go, maybe we shouldn't spend it all on this, though.
Oh, I had not planned to do that.
Okay. We should keep some space in our hold for if we encounter any goods along the way.
So how much space, like cargo space, is there on a frigate?
So the frigate is primarily a warship, so it doesn't have a lot of as much space for trading as a merchantman would, because obviously a lot of it will be taken up by your own gunpowder and shot.
Yeah.
But you believe that you could probably squeeze in somewhere in the realm of about, if you were not really in the biggest hurry because the weight would slow you down, probably in the realm of about 50 ton of cargo.
Okay. So
We need to keep up pace.
20 ton.
Yep.
So 5 ton of wool, 5 ton of line, and 10 ton of booze.
Right.
Silas will just beam at the prospect of buying 10 tons of booze.
It's a lot of barrels.
It is indeed.
Suddenly it became a lot more easy to keep some booze untouched.
Yep.
Because we kind of don't want the entire crew to die of alcohol poisoning within like the first week of travel.
Yes.
Then again, if they die, that also saves cost.
That's one way to look at it. So, working out the generalized maths. You do find all these goods for sale in the market. Silas, you will remember that you did walk past a area that was filled with linens and cloths and the like. It's roughly where Bingo bought the giant pile of socks.
Oh.
Booze you don't specifically remember, but you're fairly certain you could track down.
There's always a way to get booze.
Indeed. So that by 1, 2, 4.
Quick mass.
I mean, if we have an alchemist, we could technically make it.
So
Wrong.
that's what we need to train Bingo for. Not all of these hand grenades and explosives. Just good old moonshine. Or like toilet tuna.
So you can get roughly 10 kegs per ton, and it's about 31 gold per keg on average, is what you're hearing when you speak to some of the merchants as what would be the average price. But you do hear that there are merchants that might sell for less than that.
Don't really have time to look for him, so
Fair enough.
so that was
Could we roll to see if we accidentally stumble upon one of the cheaper ones?
Do a perception check. It would be hearing, just to see if you hear any of them as you search for that.
My perception is that, and I don't have hearing.
That was the 18, was it?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you as you walk through, you do hear a conversation on the way about how a particular merchant is selling almost ludicrous prices. You're hearing effectively the rantings of one of his competitors, who is complaining that he's being undercut.
Can I ask him which of the people is mistreating this poor businessman?
You do, and he happily rants at you, and just gestures further on down. He goes, "You can hardly miss him." Thagger is absolutely insane if he thinks he's making a profit off this.
So you're saying he's not making a profit then?
I can't see how.
well, that's not our problem.
No, I was more thinking maybe we could help him out of business by making him sell these at a loss.
I like how you think. Come on, Silas, let's go.
Yeah, and then I follow Haldir.
As you walk away, you hear this merchant swear. As you walk further down, you find a dwarven merchant who is absolutely doing a thunderous trade. He is sort of standing with barrels backed up behind him and stacked on each other. He is holding a tankard and offering tastes to various merchants and cheerfully haggling and bartering with them.
Haldir walks up. Goes, so here, if you want to buy booze, this is the place.
He looks up at you and grins and says, "It is indeed, it is indeed the best alcohol you can find in Port Marley."
Well, let me have a taste so I can figure out if you're telling me the truth or not.
Of course, of course. And he takes a tankard that's hanging from a hook on his belt, dips it into one of the open kegs near him, and holds it out to you. Taste for yourself. It's the best we've got.
Can I have a taste as well, good sir?
He pulls off another tankard, dips it, and holds it out to you as well.
I down it.
Rightio.
I'll take a bit less of a drink. Enough to taste, but not so I get pissed.
It's tastes like a decent ale. It's better than what you've had at the Shattered Hand, so better than the local stuff. Silas is a little bit more potent than the stuff at the Shattered Hand as well, so it has a bit more kick.
Ah, I like this.
The dwarf grins and says, "If you're after a barrel, I'm selling them 26 gold apiece."
26 gold apiece. Huh. Glenn, you said it was 10 barrels for a ton?
Yep.
Or...
It's,
okay.
yeah, roughly 10 barrels per ton.
So it's 10 barrels per ton, and we wanted 20 tons?
No, we wanted 10 tons of booze.
Oh yeah, 10 tons of this. So we want 100 barrels of booze?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Ooh.
Well, make it 20 and I buy 100.
Can I get a communication out of you for that?
Yeah.
Try and persuade him.
How many you got? We take the lot.
Can I assist in any way?
Yeah, you can roll a persuasion as well to assist. And if you make a certain number, it will add to Haldir's attempt. Also,
Can I add etiquette to this haggling again?
Yes, you can.
I don't think it needed though with that roll.
It's a very good roll.
Oh.
I even rolled a stunt.
Yep. So.
Can you use your stunt?
I don't know.
Technically, you could. It's 4 points, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good stunt.
I saw this same that Silas got, right?
Yeah, I also got 4 stunt points on that with team's assist if needed.
Oh wow, okay.
So that would be
You're very persuasive, both of you.
Like, we're buying 100 barrels.
To be fair, it feels persuasive when there's guys literally carrying chests and chests of gold behind you. And there's 8 armed guards protecting you.
We are ready to spend all this money right here, right now, if you give us 100 barrels for 20 gold apiece.
So what you can do is actually you sway the crowd.
Ooh.
And the way I'll swing that is that the fact that you're willing to make this deal on the spot for effectively 10 tons of this stuff has really piqued the interest of those around you. And he sees this and sees a really good deal coming. So he's going to simply smile, spit on his hand, and hold it out to you, and go, "I can definitely do a deal for you for that."
Haldir spits in the hand and claps together.
Oh.
That's
So just stands there.
2,000 gold gone.
On just alcohol. We haven't even bought the linen and the wool yet.
The merchant grins and says, "I can get that delivered straight to your ship if you've got one. Or if you're having one hell of a party, please let me know where that's going to be."
Okay, we'll have alcohol for a while, I guess.
But we're selling this.
Haldir just gives him directions for the where the ship is.
Yep. He sort of claps his hands, and 2 other dwarves come over, and he speaks to them in his own language.
What's he saying?
So he basically is telling them to gather up the good stuff and load it onto a couple of carts and deliver it to the location you've told.
Can I reply in Dwarven that for this kind of money, it better not be water?
He hears you say that, and he winks and goes back in his native language. "Got a reputation to maintain, so of course you are only getting the good stuff."
See, that's how I like it.
Slipping back into the more common tongue, he will smile at you, Haldir, and says, "That will be delivered very quickly. They're just going to load it onto carts. They've just come back from a shipment already, so give them about an hour and they'll be there and ready to load to your vessel."
Great. Then Haldir goes over to one of the chests and just makes a makes a bag of coins and just paid on the spot.
We pay cash.
The dwarf is just grinning like a lunatic at the fact that you're paying in cash, and he goes, "I love your style." And he summons over another dwarf. This one is wearing armor, and he hands this one the gold, and it's taken and put into what looks like secure chests that are under guard.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, especially since there's now a lot of gold in there.
You do hear him slip into Dwarven to this guard as well, and he goes, "You might want to get your cousins out of the tavern."
Haldir just smiles. Well, Silas, let's go on to the next stop.
Yeah, next up is wool or linen, right?
Yes.
I know linen is sold over there, and I point in the direction where I'm vaguely aware that linen was sold.
Let's go.
Yep, so you make your way over there, and there is just tons and tons of cloths and linens. Some of it's sold in smaller portions, but quite a lot of it is for wholesale. It's just giant meter or multiple meter long rolls that
What's the big spools?
they basically look like logs in all sorts of colors and qualities. You see amongst some of them that there is actually silks. The merchants see you walking through with the chests following along behind you and immediately start trying to pawn their wares.
So in this case, everybody is offering their cheapest prices to us. Like, we can just compare them.
So some of them are trying to outbid each other to get your attention, and others are simply stating that their merchandise is the best in Port Marley, and that anything else would be cheap and poor quality by comparison.
I would like to try and see if I can find some material that is not too expensive, because this is gonna go into soldier uniforms. So like figuring out like not the shittiest, but definitely not the best either.
Yep.
We'd want some like royal colors, I guess, or not necessarily royal colors, but like something on the darker side to impress.
We basically want the colors that they're gonna wear down there.
Yeah. So I'll get you to do communications.
Would I be able to roll intelligence to see if I know the colors that we need to buy for their shield?
Yes, you can.
So this is another stunt.
Ooh.
Nice. Yeah, you're doing well tonight.
Another 4.
Excellent.
Haldir is not usually the guy that goes out and buy like this, but he suddenly has money and just goes, why the hell not? Let's just... I know how to talk to people.
He goes, I has money. I enjoy.
Right. So
Yeah,
Silas,
he got all the confidence. Suddenly.
You, being a fan of military and pirate lore, you do remember roughly the colors of the standard Hathard uniform. and that it's a deep maroon red.
Ooh.
The Haldir, you speak to a couple of the various merchants, and one or two of them mention that the goods that they are selling for exceptionally high price, so above what you'd normally be happy with, have come from Hathard. And you do notice that they do tend to favor the reds and the blacks. You also hear some of the other merchants mentioning that their goods are of as good quality as that southern stuff, but obviously cheaper because we don't have to ship it half the world to get it here.
Yeah, I'm definitely biased towards the the northern crafts.
Yep. So between the two of you, you managed to track down a elven merchant who sells both in the colors that you're looking for and at Haldir, by your best judgment, a reasonable quality.
Would I be used to like higher quality goods?
From what you're used to prior to leaving your home, yes, this would be below the quality of what Silas would have been used to in his upbringing. But since traveling, this would be roughly on par with what you've experienced to date.
Okay. So I'll just say to Haldir that this is it's for what I've seen after, well, when I started traveling, this is decent stuff. This is yeah, decent quality.
Means my eyes didn't deceive me. Excuse me, sir. What are your prices?
The elderly elven man smiles and says, I'm glad that you have an eye for quality and for good work around here. There are so many that are easily swayed by the cheaper and more poorly made items. Linen here, anything in any color, I'll sell you for 12 silver pieces, a 10-yard bolt.
I have any idea how
Um,
how many bolts?
How many yards in a ton?
So what
bolts
I
and a
will
tonnage?
What I will say with the bolts of cloth is that you would probably get about, I'd say, 10 of them per ton, mainly because the size of them actually outweighs their tonnage.
Mm-hmm.
It would become a bit too awkward to cart and move them.
Yeah, I was just looking at it, yards to ton conversion. Yep. We'd need about 65,000 yards in order to be able to do that.
Yeah. However, as described, they're kind of like logs.
Much more sensible to have them by size and not weight.
So you could carry heavier stuff easily, but you're going to, in this case, max out on the size of it a lot faster. It's the difference between a ton of feathers and a ton of lead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he basically states that the cost of this is for per tonnage that you'd be trying to store. I said 15 silver per each, so 10 of them
Didn't you
per
say
ton.
12?
Sorry, 12. Yep.
Huh.
Thank you for
Trying to
catching
cheat me!
that. I was doing math based on something else. Clear that. So 12 per ton, not per ton, per item, and 10 of them to that. It'd be 12 gold per ton, effectively, that you're trying to take up.
Obviously. So that would be 5 times 12. Would be 60 golds just for the linen.
Yep.
That's much better than the alcohol.
Yeah, but the alcohol's worth more.
It's almost like linen is not worth the booze.
Yup.
No, let's. Yeah, I'll just say that. Yeah, we need. What? How many bolts will that be? 50 bolts.
Yeah.
He sort of nods and says that can be arranged and can be delivered as required.
Wonderful.
What would be the soonest you could get it to our ship?
He sort of ponders for a bit and says, could be in the next hour or two. My latest delivery is still out, but I can send it as soon as they return.
Sounds great.
Yeah, sounds good.
Just jogging my memory, you bought 20 tons of booze, right?
10.
10 tons of booze. Yeah, we bought 100 barrels.
Yep.
Oh boy. Well, as long as we can carry it, it won't slosh around too much.
Well, to be fair, it's being delivered to our ship.
And you've got 200 people
Yeah.
to help stash stuff if you need it.
I think
some parties.
after this deal, Haldir just look inside like. I think this may just be enough.
Yeah, we probably. You know, we're probably settled for now.
Let's go back to the ship then. Come along, man.
Is
He says with like way too like he's having way too much fun.
The men that are carrying the gold seem to be exceptionally happier, and it seems like they've managed to shuffle some of it across between the two chests so that it weighs a lot less for all of them.
Fair enough.
The soldiers escort you all the way back to the ship and stand at attention, and the one that gathered them all up sort of steps forward and says, hope you enjoyed your escort through the crowds there. Did our best to keep our eyes out for any trouble, but as I said before, very few were willing to mess with the guard.
That was excellent service. And I take one of my personal golds.
Yep.
And I just copy it and hand him one. Like I put it, I take one of the golds, put it in my pouch.
Yep.
And just go, oh wait, I was going to pay you. And I take it out and pay him with it.
He takes it and grins and says,
Shouldn't this be a sleight of hand?
and he...
I don't know, because he's not hiding putting it in the pouch. It's more
he
he's lying about whether he did that on purpose.
He notices you do that, and he sort of bites the coin and then pops it in his own pocket and says, "Happy to be of service." The men, of course, are also expecting payment.
Yes, of course. And I just go into the pouch that I just took the coin from.
Yep.
And I take out one coin and hand it to a person.
Yep.
Like to one of the guards. And I just repeat that process to all of them.
Each of them salute you and pocket the coin. And then once all the payments are made, the one that gathered them all up grins at you and says, "Let us know anytime you're in town, sir. Happy to be of service." And with that, the soldiers all make their way back.
Have fun tonight in the tavern.
One of them shouts back and goes, "Oh, you can bet on that, sir."
Haldir is just like looking as soon as they are like, that pouch is really handy, huh?
Yeah. And he pulls out the original coin again and just stuffs it back in his like original coin pouch.
Well, with the money here and everything, I guess I have to figure out how we're gonna do this.
Yeah. Is there one of those dock cranes that are normally like used to be at docks as well to load?
Yeah,
load ships through the hatch.
Where all the ships are, there's at least a couple of those. So, and some smaller movable ones that can be pushed into locations. You've got one next to your ship, and it's been used so far to load stuff like your foodstuffs and resupplies on board.
Good. In that case, yeah, we'll definitely start using that to load up everything as it comes up, because I assume the booze and the gold are loaded right now, because the booze was also going to show up within the hour.
So I'll say over the next hour or two, the items will all arrive and will be loaded. Your crew, under the guidance of the twins, will sort of take care of the hard labor of moving stuff around.
Ooh, I think Mug is very interested in the booze.
Mug,
Well,
the second you see the
so far
barrels
it's
start
just
to load.
closed barrels. So far, it's just closed barrels.
Yep.
It's dwarven booze, isn't it? Could he not smell it? Or should I roll for perception?
Roll a perception roll.
And it's slushing as well, isn't it?
I'd say
Mug.
perception hearing.
I didn't roll very well. Mug is not very perceptive.
In that case, Silas is going to say, we bought booze, we bought linen. The booze is not all for drinking though, but we got you a glass of that good old dwarven ale.
Wait! You got booze! You got booze for us! I mean,
we got some booze for us, but we also
can I have the some booze?
Tonight we'll open the cask and everybody can get some.
Yes, I will get some booze. Good. I'm so happy.
I should have bought an extra.
With that, I look at Haldir and I go, I guess that's 99 to sell.
Yes, I'll make a correction.
It better be the best booze. What kind of booze is it? Oops.
Dwarven ale.
Oops. Oh my god, that's the best booze ever. I'm definitely having all of it.
Nope.
We're drinking all of it, right?
Nope.
Oh, why not? Why do you bring booze you don't want to drink?
Because it's worth so much money when we sell it.
Well, it's good booze, so you want to drink it?
Nope.
No?
We
So
can
was
have
it you?
one cask for ourselves.
Yeah, but it costs. Yeah, you earn the money, so you can get booze, right? Why would you want to sell booze?
Right now, we're selling the booze to make money to get better booze.
I don't get that. Why would you do that?
I'll promise you that you get enough booze.
But is it not going to be the same amount of money that you paid for it? Someone else pays you, and you lose the booze.
No, we're gonna get much more money so that we can buy more booze.
But why would they give you more money for the same amount of booze?
Because they don't know what we paid.
How come they don't know how much the booze costs?
We asked the friendly dwarf.
Silas,
Yes?
before we continue this wonderful conversation, I did notice that you did not sleep in the captain's quarters. Can I use those? Because if I need to figure out all of this money and the maps, it would be nice sleeping close to all of that.
Yes, of course. You can have them.
Oh, you're
Great,
sleeping
thank
with
you.
money.
And then Haldir just leaves.
Can I sleep with the money too?
You'll have to ask Haldir.
Okay.
Glenn, can I claim the room in the armory again?
Yep.
I'll set up my workbench and like lay out my tools and everything, make it really my own, and then just find the lock to the armory again, and just make sure that the only key on the ship is around my neck.
Yep.
Someone is very protective.
You'll note that the armory is a lot bigger on this ship than on the Cirrus.
Ooh, Penta.
The twins have, so far, by the looks of it, made sure that it is stocked. It has spaces for workbenches for either tinkering or repairing equipment. There isn't a bed in there, so you make do with setting up a hammock situation.
Oh, I'll definitely just enjoy the hammock as well, because that's part of the pilot life. Question.
Yep.
Is there harpoons or anything on the ship so that I can start working on that harpoon rifle?
There aren't any harpoons that you can see amongst any of the equipment.
Any bows and arrows maybe that I can, or crossbows that I can repurpose?
There's a couple of crossbows.
Okay, I'd like to start repurposing that into somewhat of a mix between a crossbow and a rifle, just so that Silas gets like a weapon that suits his style that is more stealthy.
Okay.
Oh, Mug is definitely following Haldir to ask him if he can sleep with the money as well.
Haldir is now in the captain's quarters and like finding a table and taking a piece of paper and starting writing on it, looking very like, oh god, what I've gotten myself into.
Hey, Haldir, I heard that you are sleeping with the money. I want to sleep with money too. Can I?
Sleeping with the money? No, I'm sleeping in these quarters. I'm pretty sure we have the money somewhere
Yeah.
else.
It looks pretty nice. Can I sleep here too?
Oh.
I mean, there's only one bed.
There's plenty of space.
Weren't you sleeping with Silas?
Yes.
But there was plenty of space there as well.
In a room that I didn't, that I'm no longer staying in because Mug was there. Why do you think I want the room with the big lock?
But Mark, you said you wanted to sleep with the money, right? Shouldn't you then sleep down where all the money is?
What? Isn't the money here? So what's... But this looks like the nicest room.
I mean, it's definitely a big room.
This room only has books and words.
I need a lot of room because I need maps and I need to make sure all the numbers are correct. Do you like numbers, Mug?
But I don't have to deal with numbers, right?
Well, if you're gonna sleep in here, there's gonna be a lot of numbers.
I will ignore the numbers. I will count the money for you.
Well, the money is not gonna be here. There's only gonna be numbers and maps. Books.
So where is the money?
Down in the hole.
In the hole.
Yeah, the cargo hole.
But there are no beds there.
Well, don't we have hammocks? You could put up a hammock next to the money.
I guess I don't need a bed. I can just sleep on the floor. If that's what you are saying.
No, a hammock. Do you know what a hammock is, Mark?
Not really.
It's a bed that can swing.
Just like your fist.
Oh, I've seen people do that, but I don't know how to do that.
Well, how about I help you set up a hammock, buy the money,
Buy
and
the
then you
money.
can sleep there.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
Wait, I changed my mind. I want to sleep by the booze.
No.
Haldir is just like, oh god. You know what? You should discuss that with Silas, since Silas is the captain.
This is too complicated.
Talk to Silas about if you can sleep near the booze.
Why do I need to talk to Silas about it? You said you will help me set up a hammock. So you promised.
Yes, near the money.
So let's go and set up the hammock near the booze.
The hammock should be placed next to the money. You wanted to sleep with the money, didn't you, Mug?
Yes, but I realized booze is more important than money. I got my priority sorted.
You definitely have, Mug. Haldir just have a defeated look on his face. You know what? Let me finish working with these numbers, and then I help you set up the hammock. Okay?
Great. Do you want me to help with your numbers? I can beat them.
Beating the piece of paper with the numbers on is sadly not gonna help.
Oh, you want me to eat it? I was just going to beat
No.
it up.
No. You see here, I have my quill, I have my ink, and I'm writing on the paper. I'm writing numbers on the
Ew.
paper.
That's messy.
A bit, but well, when you have a nice handwriting, it's not too messy.
No, it definitely looks messy. It looks like a mess.
Well, I'll be sitting here working a bit, and after that, we hang up the hammock. I'll play a dwarven song, and we're gonna have a wonderful time this evening. Okay?
That sounds awesome. Are you sure you don't want me to help?
Yes, Mug. I don't think either beating or eating the paper is gonna help.
Oh damn, that's a shame.
Maybe Mug can go and train the new recruits with fighting.
It's okay. Mug is patiently waiting for Haldir to finish work and just watching what he's doing, just concentrating on it, like angrily watching it, like trying to defeat them in his mind.
Oh, Mug.
Right here. So
how is the storage room divided? Is it like one big room, or are there several rooms?
there are several rooms to stop stuff moving around effectively.
Good. In that case, we can just give Mug one of the rooms with 2 or 3 barrels of booze.
Haldir's definitely, while he's doing some numbers, he's also thinking okay, so where can I put Mug so it's not all the barrels? And then when he's done the numbers, okay, Mug, let's go get a hammock and put it up for you.
Yes, let's do it. I'm excited to finally sleep in in a hammock. Yes, a hammer. The one that swings. They look good.
And then Haldir goes down, finds a room where there's like a couple of barrels and probably also where some of the money is stashed, and like, look, Mug, if we put up your hammock here, there's both gonna be booze and money.
That sounds great. And I will even have a bed. You know how nice it is to have a bed.
Yes, having a bed is definitely a very important thing.
Yeah, it's so nice that now I can have beds.
Haldir looks kind of like pitying him. Like, yes, let's put up your hammock. Oh, poor Mog. Aw.
Do we have to roll anything for putting up a hammock, or can we put up the hammock?
I'd say you won't have to roll to put it up because you can take your time doing so.
so probably Haldir is doing it rather well, and then Mug is like destroying it when he's trying to help.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah. So after a few failed attempts where you realise that Mug is undoing your work, you'll eventually manage to get the hammock up and teach Mug how to enter and exit it without somersaulting out.
Oh boy.
Oh wow! I didn't think this is how it would work. That's amazing.
It's nice, isn't it?
Am I going to fall out of it?
No, you're gonna be gently rocked to sleep.
Yes! Mug jumps into it, excited.
Just be a bit careful.
So should I roll for this? How it goes?
Oh boy.
Dexterity or?
Yeah, I'd say dexterity to sort of enter and exit until you get the hang of it.
Oh my gosh, I actually rolled quite well. So this is not going to be a disaster. How much is my dex? Is it +3?
I don't have your sheet up currently, but I can quickly look.
Yeah, I didn't bring it up this time either.
Here we go. You appear to have... I've only got your level 4 sheet, so it looks like a +2 on that. You might have a +3.
It's probably +2. It doesn't. I think it's still going to be a.
Yep.
No. I'm not counting that right. Am I?
16, but yep. You
Yeah,
managed
16.
that. You managed that fine.
Yeah. Ah, this is awesome, Haldir. It's holding me up. It's not even falling down. I was expecting it to fall down.
Oh no. I know how to put up a hammock. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, and it even keeps up my weight. And it doesn't smell horrible either.
I'm glad you like it, Mug. Oh. I'm gonna go
Thanks for that.
No problem. And Haldir leaves Mark to his newfound happiness in a hammock.
How do I get out of this?
Not.
Oh no, don't worry, you'll be fine.
Big thump is hard.
Haldir, how much rope do you have in your person?
None?
Damn it. Because that
You
whole
wanted me to tie Mug into a hammock?
And we'll unlock him when his time is ready.
So he only drinks 2 casks of these.
Noted. So, Mug, you're now set up and chilling in your brand new hammock.
Yep.
Silas has taken to tinkering in the workshop, and Haldir has spent some time doing the numbers and helped Mug out. Has anyone else been up to anything before I will say the twins are going to knock on Silas's door, and one of them's going to shout through and go, "Everything's delivered and the crew are waiting to hear the address from the captain. You did mention that we were setting sail shortly."
Ah, yes. I'll be on my way to the deck now.
Yep.
I'll just stop tinkering. I closed the notebook that I had open with like all of the designs.
Yep.
I stuffed that back in my inside pocket. Put on my hat again, and then I'll join the crew on the deck.
Yep. So what I will say is, if anybody else wants to get anything done before the captain's address, you can do so now. Otherwise, we will get to Silas gathering it all up on deck.
Good.
Is it an idea that we cut off like just before the address so that I have a week to think about it?
Yeah, we can do. You mean you hadn't already planned your giant speech?
I only have bullet points right now.
Fair enough. I say this is actually an opportune time because you're getting ready to set sail. I would say the next session we will have you heading on towards Fort Hearth. So, yep, we will give a week for our captain to have his speech.
Anybody else want to do something before then?
The only thing I will do is that you now have a navigator. So, navigator, can I get you to do a intelligence roll?
Yes, and I'm pretty sure my specialization in navigation is gonna be
so
handy.
You can add your ability for that. So +2 to the roll.
Oh, so
Obviously
you're
not.
trying to be both navigator and quartermaster.
I do like numbers. So that would be 18.
Rightio. So with that, you plot pretty much the fastest course you can think of directly to Fort New Hearth. And you're pretty certain that you will actually be a lot faster than the expected 2 weeks. As long as the weather holds.
Oh, nice. So, an approximation?
Approximation, you reckon you could probably do it in 9 days.
9 days. Great.
That's like 1,000 gold saved.
You're not wrong.
That's pretty fast.
I'm glad we hired him.
Haldir's pulling his weight.
Rightio. So I'll leave it
Well
there with a
done.
yo-ho from the crew, and
Wait, didn't Whisp or
Yeah.
Verity get the chance to do anything before the...
if they wanted to do anything, we can leap to that. Otherwise,
This was probably just making sure Verity wasn't like gonna keel over or something.
so Whisper spent the better part of the last few hours easing Verity into ship life.
Verity spends a lot of time, first figuring out where she's gonna sleep, being kind of, how does that work? Does she have a room? Does she share it with anyone? How many does she share it with?
100.
This is up to you.
Pick a place.
Pick
Any
a place,
place.
any place,
Yeah.
not that one.
Unless it's claimed, in which case, good luck fighting that person.
And then when you're trying to like find out how many roommates there is, there will always be that. But wait, there's more.
Yeah, there are 200 people on deck.
Yeah,
I think Verity will be fine as long as she's not trying to get like Mug's hammock.
I think that
I don't
stands for
think
anyone.
she has any desire to steal Mug's hammock. But
Yeah.
yeah, she'll spend some time trying to fix up her quarters wherever that is. And making sure everything is very, very tidy. And she will also look for a bell. Like, like the big kind of like ding.
Oh no.
So I will
There's
say
usually one of the ship's bells.
you do find that because most ships do have bells, and you've managed to acquire one.
Oh boy.
Verity is now kind of convinced that she is the orderly of the ship. So yeah, apart from that, I think she would probably try and see if she could find some clothes, but
I will say that some of the supplies that have been brought on are just standard workman's clothes for the ability to replace and repair wear and tear during the middle of a journey. And at any point, a sailor can point Verity in the direction of those if she wishes to swap into a more standard sailor's garb.
she probably will. Are any of them in shades of white or gray?
A reasonable number are. So it wouldn't take too much effort to find clothing that would suit the needs. It wouldn't be highly decorated or anything, but
no, that's fine. She'll take like a garb that looks either white or gray, and she'll make an effort to find what would essentially be. I need to look up the rainbow. Give me 2 seconds.
oh good.
Okay, so if she is an orderly, she will try to find a yellow belt.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for Verity to respond to like Silas announcing that he wants to do an announcement, and then she just starts ringing the bell to bring everyone in, and everyone's like,
Ding, ding.
I also absolutely love the fact that your quartermaster has done the math and actually has a days to starvation calculation going.
Look, if we're only paying food costs, how long do we last?
What is the Vogade?
I was trying to quickly write voyage. It didn't work.
I do like the layout.
Rightio. So I would say it would take a bit more of an effort to find the materials that you want for the belt, but you eventually would come across something that you can acquire.
Oh, days to starvation. That's
it is
awesome.
bright yellow.
Yep.
Which is important. Which you would think is the highest rank, but it isn't. It's like 3rd lowest.
Excellent. So I will leave it there.
Church is not Scientology, right?
It is not Scientology, I swear.
She will become a laser wizard if only she pays like 1,000 more golds.
Oh god.
Oh boy.
So I'll give it a opportunity for everyone to think about what they want to do for next session. So we'll get a yo-ho from everyone and I'll cut the recording. And
Yo-ho.
we
Yo-ho!
Yo-ho.
Yo-ho.